All right. Hopefully everybody can see this screen here. I appreciate some of you all joining us. I do see some familiar names on there, so I hope that's good. It looks like we have some folks that I've talked to before, but I'll still try and make it interesting for y'all. So again, welcome to this webinar. For those of you who are already using PSTrax, you are fully aware of how our system works in terms of it being web-based or cloud-based. In other words, accessible on any device with internet access, right down to a phone, so you do not have to invest in new hardware. There are 7 different modules that we offer. We are going to focus, as she said, on vehicles and station today. But for those of you who are not familiar with this, I'm going to go through real quickly and give you a little backdrop on PSTrax. Then we're going to jump into the vehicle checks. And as Liz said, at any given time, for those of you who are already using PSTrax, if you want to dive a little deeper on those sides of those modules, just let me know. So again, with PSTrax, it is accessible on any device with internet access. If they log in, they can jump around stations. They see their dashboard. They see exactly what to do across all of their vehicles. If you happen to log over or deploy to another station for the day, you change to that station, you see the vehicles that are currently assigned to that station and any checks that may be assigned. If I scroll down here, I would also see the station checks. Again, make it easy for the crews. For those of you who are on the reporting side or the admin side, you're probably familiar with some of the reports if you're with us already. If not, I am going to take you into those reports and show you what those logs look like for the completed checks, setting alerts, and so on and so forth. The track issue feature is just that. As your crews are going through and doing their checks, they have the ability to go ahead and identify an item that needs attention, whether it's part of the vehicle maintenance or the station maintenance or chores, or specific tools and equipment that are located on that particular vehicle and or at the station. Again, it allows them to very quickly identify that issue, take a picture of it if they want, and forward it on to the appropriate personnel. And you will tell us who those appropriate people are by category, and that way we make it real easy for your crews to notify the personnel that need to go ahead and take the action on that. Again, use any device. It'll scale itself out to the screen size. We get this question a lot, barcode scanning. Do I have to barcode and QR code everything in my agency to use the system? The short answer is no. Does our system support that? Yes. But again, it is not required at all for us to go ahead and build out a comprehensive check system with drop-down menus, and we will identify the rigs and tools and equipment and your gear based on how you are currently identifying it. Tell your IT folks to stand down. They do not have to build it. They do not service it, and we do store your data for you. It is your data. Again, we build it, we train you on it, we roll it out, and we maintain it. Nobody on this call wants a new project. Vehicle checks. This is what we're going to cover primarily today, and that is when we go through and build a vehicle for you, it's a whole lot more than tires, lights, and chassis. This is actually a picture of our one of our clients down in Spring, Texas. Multiple crew members logged in to the same station, to the same vehicle, and they are starting their checks. This person jumps up and says, I'll go ahead and start with the cab checks. This person is starting on extrication, and this one on mid or rear compartment. The idea is real simple. You can leverage multiple people to walk around that rig and do their checks on their phones or iPads, whatever they want. Go ahead and log their completed checks, as well as send alerts for anything that needs attention. No different from any of the medic units, front to back. Cab checks, just as important, all the tools and equipment. We know that you are going to carry a whole lot of tools and equipment on these rigs. We also recognize that you're not going to go through and typically do a full front to back check on the rigs. But we will ask you, what do you want checked when? And that's how we will build it. Do you want an overview of basic checks, daily, weekly? That's fine. Every month, you want us to go through and list out everything in your compartment and have them go through and thoroughly check it? That's exactly how we were going to build it. Just as important, we're going to build post-caller as needed checks because nothing ever gets damaged or missing after a call. But hypothetically, if it did, we can go ahead and build those as needed checks for you as well. You can call that out and say, crew, go ahead and do a walkabout after that call. Make sure everything made it back in and is functional. Equipment modules, real quick. We're not going to spend a lot of time on that unless we have time at the end. PP, SCBA assets. built to go ahead and track all of your NFP required inspections, department guidelines, full history on all of the items, including your inspections, repairs, expiration, maintenance costs, flows, hydros, air fills. Asset checks are going to include anything that doesn't fall into these two nice categories here: radios, ticks, drones, ladder, hose testing, hydrant, all of the above. Station module, we're going to touch on that a little bit. Think of that as a heavy frontline rescue without wheels and tires. You're going to tell us what you want us to build on that. Do you have daily chore schedules, safety inspections, basic supply, specialty equipment? Doesn't matter. And it's designed to cover the entire building and the ground. So anything a part of your station can be built into a check schedule. Much like the vehicles, you'll tell us which checks pop up when. They can do as needed. They can set an alerts, and you have record of all of that as well. Controlled substance, we're not going to spend time on that. For you folks that are handling ALS or scheduled narcotics, we can certainly build that check system. For those of you who like to manage supplies, and much like this fella here, it's a whole lot of fun to try and guess what's in there below par. While we can manage some of those basic supplies through the station module and even some basic jump bag checks on the vehicle module, many agencies that are running a whole lot more EMS supplies or station supplies wanted us to build something a little bit more comprehensive. We won't spend time on that today, but we will offer other webinars, or by all means, reach out to us for that module as well. And where is PSTrax sitting? Well, we're sitting here in Denver, Colorado, but we have folks all across the United States. We're 960 plus agencies strong, real high retention rate. And as I like to tell people, it doesn't matter if you're one station or 102, we still build it check by check, rig by rig, whatever it takes to build that check schedule that fits your check needs. So Liz, I'm going to assume there's no questions at this point on the PSTrax overview. And with your permission, I'm going to dive right into the actual checks themselves, unless you tell me cease and desist.
Let's go, Dave.
Let's do that then. All right. If I can get a thumbs up, Liz, or somebody let me know when we are actually seeing the login page. For those of us who are not familiar with PSTrax, I want to make sure they can see this. Very good. I got a thumbs up. That's a much nicer sign. Okay. So with the sign-in page, really important why we have this. And it looks the same, by the way, on a smartphone. We put a little icon. We show the folks how to put an icon on their iPad or their phone. They click on it and it brings them to the login page. The login page is really, really important for two reasons. First, you control who gets in to your check system, station by station, module by module, and how far in they can go. So to that point, everybody will get a unique user ID and a password. The second reason for the sign-in is they have the ability to, when they sign in, everything that they inspect or send an alert on will be date and time stamped and linked to that specific individual. Now, you can give vendors access to your system. First question is, well, why would I do that? Well, if you have a fleet shop that's helping you maintain your apparatus or your tools and equipment, and you want to be able to forward those issues that are identified by your crew members or your officers, you can. They can receive those notices by text and or email. They can even sign in and respond back with a status. But again, the idea is very simple. Control who gets in and then have all your reports and logs date and time stamped. This button down here was sign in with SSO. Some of our larger agencies are requiring that all platforms be vetted through the city's platforms and such like that. So if you are subject to that, we can sign in and we can set you up with a single sign-on as well. Otherwise, you just sign in with PSTrax. As you sign in, the important thing here is that it is going to bring your crew members to their default station. My default station is Station 2. There's a whole lot going on here. I'm going to cover it real quickly for you all. If I'm not at my Castle Pine station today and I happen to be at Station 4 or Station 5, it does not matter. Yes, it will follow me for PPE, but most importantly, it's going to show me the apparatus that's currently assigned to that station and are there any checks associated with those vehicles or with the station. But I can toggle back to any station as long as I have access to it. I will stay on Station 2 for today. So there's a whole lot going on here and a whole lot of pretty colors, but let's break it down. This left side menu is the admin menu. For those of you on the call that are concerned with the admin side of it and logs and reports and being able to do different things, as an admin with that authority level, that's where you will be going into. I will show you the drop-down menu for all the reports. For your crew members, do they care about some of that? Quite honestly, no. And I'm going to go ahead and scroll past controlled substance or supplies check. And even PPE would be up there if you had that. But if you just had the vehicles, they would see the vehicles that are due for inspection today. This says that we have the SCBA module in place and there's SCBA checks. There may be folks out there that are using the critical asset module or are interested in that. If you have assets that are currently assigned to that apparatus and they are due for inspection, that will show up. The supply checks button are for the folks who have the supply module or look into that and they say, well, I would like them to check those EMS supplies or hazmat supplies on that rig at a scheduled time period. We can build that in as well, but just for the vehicle checks, it would be here. So this tells me, again, how many vehicle checks I had due today. Do not let this big number scare you. On my demo platform, I allow daily, weekly, monthly, quarterlies, and such to accumulate to show you the degree of detail that we can go into. I will take you behind the scenes as well and show you how to edit that checklist and how each master checklist is built for your vehicles. Just as important as the schedule checks is the as-needed ability. This is just a sampling of some of the as-needed checks that our agencies ask us to build. It could be something as simple as a fuel log, or hey, go ahead and run through the dailies again at the end of the day, or run through the weeklies or monthly, or post call. Very popular for the folks that say, walk back through that rig after a call and make sure everything is functional and is returned back to its proper compartment. So you can see there's various things that we can build in as needed. So two big issues that we hear about is make it easy for the crews to log in and see exactly what's due today on every vehicle or at the station. Give them the ability to do other as needed checks as appropriate and as called for by yourselves as LTs, captains, engineers, chiefs. That's important as well. Just as important is for your crew members and everybody across your agency to know that something has been reported and is action being taken on that. And that's the idea behind us intentionally putting the alert menu right here in the middle of the dashboard. If I'm on a smartphone, I will scroll over or hit the alert button up there on my phone and it will bring me to this screen. Really important. This shows the issues that have been identified on any of my vehicles to date. And if they are still open, has action been taken on that? You're only seeing my name because I'm the one doing the demonstration. You would see the crew member's name who found the issue and reported it. You would see the officer's or admin's name that is taking action on that. So again, really important that folks know it's been reported and you know as admins that it is being tracked. And once it has been completed, repaired, replaced, whatever the case may be for tools or equipment on the vehicles, or if I had station issues as well, they would be identified here. You have the ability to add these comments and update that. You also, as admins on this call, have the ability to close that issue out. If you close that issue out, really important, a lot of agencies say, well, I'd like to be able to attach cost to that issue, whether it's a vehicle maintenance or tool or equipment issue. And then I'd like to be able to, in a perfect world, electronically attach a copy of that receipt or invoice or PO and be able to retrieve that. And that's what this alert archive dropdown is all about. I can come in here and I can pull records of any of my vehicle checks or station checks. I will go to station 2. I will pull down this apparatus. I can filter out by the various categories of issues that we can set up for, or categories of alerts, or all. I can go back to any date range. I can look for just the open or the closed issues, and I can go back here as far as I want, but I'll go back just about a month. And what I want this report to tell me is what has been reported and by who, what is still open by virtue of it not being closed out yet. And I can see the chronology of action that's been taken and any costs associated with that. If I had a picture of that issue or a copy of the receipt or invoice electronically, that would be here as well. The reason for this is I'd like to tell people, think of this as your 5 drawer in the sky. Somebody comes to you and says, well, okay, I'd kind of like to know what vehicle maintenance issues have been found on this rig to date for the last 30 days or 60 or 90, it doesn't matter. Yes, I'd like to be able to see those. If they're closed, somebody may ask for that report, print, Excel, or PDF. I can export it. But by the same token, I can go to tools and equipment and find those issues or any of the categories. Again, we do not want to change your process. We just want to allow you to complete that tracking of issues or alerts or tickets, whatever you call them, full circle. You have the ability to do that after the fact as well. I can edit or add commentary to it if I get the receipts in later or update the pricing. That's all this is trying to do, is take you all the way around the horn and not just stop at third base. Last but not least on our dashboard is nothing more than a whiteboard or communication device for your agencies. This is offered with any of the modules that we offer. There's no additional cost. And all it is a way for you to be able to post out notices to crew members or staff. And you can tell us which categories you want. If you want to talk about some training and let them know about that, I can future date that into the future. I can type it out. I can add any attachments as far as Word docs, PDFs. I can post it to this single station or the entire department. We have a lot of agencies using this for pass-ons, pass-downs, whatever you'd like it to serve. It's nothing more than a communication device built into your dashboard. Once you are done sharing that information, you archive it and you have those records over here. So that's kind of a quick overview of what the dashboard looks like. It's very intentionally set up to make it flow from left to right for the crew members. First, identify what needs to be checked, click on it and go. See what issues have been reported to date, and see if there's any notices or communications I need to be made aware of for vehicles or station, or for that matter, any of the modules, because my alerts and issues show up for PPE, SCBA, asset supplies, and so on and so forth. They all work the same way. The crew, quite honestly, doesn't want to try and overthink this. They just want to be able to log in and see what is due today across any of the modules that you have with PSTrax. They are all offered individually. You do not have to get all of them. Liz, I'm going to stop right there, see if there's any questions at all on the format of the dashboard before I jump into some checks.
You bet. Dave, can you clarify, if a person only has rig check and station check, will they even see the placeholders for PPE or controlled substance, or do those disappear?
No, that's a great question. So if I had nothing more than the vehicles, you would have a very simple dashboard to view. Your vehicles would show up here. Your stations would show up there if you had that. But no, you would not see the SCBA buttons or asset buttons or supply buttons. You would also not see those in your admin menu down here. You would merely see vehicles and station. But as you decide to, or if you decide to add additional modules to your system at any time, then these will populate and we will build those out as well. But you can keep it very simple to the vehicles and station, or just vehicles, whatever you'd like. We build it how you want it. Good question. What else?
Second question I have is, can multiple people check the same apparatus at the same time?
Absolutely. That is the key to this. Rather than one person walking around with a clipboard and the other thief barking it out from the other side of the rig, and we know that works very well, wouldn't it be simpler if I said, okay, today you folks are at station 2. I want 3 of you to jump on unit 97. All 3 can sign in with their own ID. All 3 can go to this rig and all click here. Now, why is that important? Again, leverage economies, right, and efficiencies. But here's what I was talking about. If you recall that slide, somebody can say, well, you know what, let me start outside and I'm going to start those checks. And somebody's going to say, I'm going to start with the operational checks. We will separate them out by what we call task groups or categories. We would also share with you as a best practice to have us build it this way. Do not have us build 300 checks in a sequential row. It will not work for them. We also would suggest that they go through a chunk at a time, do their checks, and then log those, and then continue to the next category. 2 reasons. 1, some devices will time out depending on what setting you have on your device. 2, you might get a call and you want to be able to complete what you have started and then finish that. Do not lose your place, come back and pick up. But just as important, Liz, as you had asked about, and that is the ability to have people jump into different parts of the rig and grab their checks that they're looking at right then and there. What else for you? And bear with me, Liz, my screen froze yet again.
Uh-oh, I'm not gonna tap dance though. That's actually all the questions that we have, Dave. But if anybody does have any questions, again, feel free to load it in the chat or the Q&A while we wait for Dave to come back here.
Yeah, folks. Unless you want it to work. 3 of them, and this is the only one that continues to do that for me. So I do know that we probably have some folks on this call that are currently using their system. And so for those of you who are currently using the vehicle and station module, and I should be back as far as the screen. Can everybody see that, Liz?
I can see your screen, Dave, yes.
Very good. Okay, wonderful. All right. So the idea behind this is very simple. As your different crew members log in, they can grab their area and start doing checks. Now, let me go back because you probably saw some icons here and you're thinking, what's the eyeball for? What's the pencil? What's the paper clip? And for gosh sakes, what is the bell for? Well, really important. And that is, if you do have us build this to where you have a set of checks that are repeating daily or weekly, and an issue has been identified in the past and is still open, yes, they can see it here. But just as important, if I'm starting here, I click the bell, that tells me who has identified the issue and is it being worked on. So I don't need to redundantly report that again. You don't want the same issue reported repeatedly. I can also see who has done those checks. Again, you're only seeing my name. You'd see different crew members. And when was that issue identified? The pencil is nothing more than them being able to add a note to that. Now, there's other things that you're going to see, and it's very intentional. And that is a lot of our agencies like to use this to help train new folks or take pretty pictures and show people what that compartment should look like in a perfect world. Or if I have brand new to roll, you can send us something as simple as here is a PDF or a drawing of the rig for our new to roll. Here's where the various parts of that apparatus are located. Or for the younger set that believes that when you lift the hood, there's supposed to be nothing but a Tesla engine in the back or battery, that's not true for those of us who grew up with V8s. And so if I've never lifted the hood before, maybe my fleet shop guy can take a picture, label it, and send it to me. Okay, then I can attach it to my check system and help my new to roll folks see what they should be looking for. We can also produce things like a simple drop down, make it easy for them to report. For the fleet folks that are on the call today as well, we can build in an odometer check. Now, why would we do that? Well, I checked the odometer. Great. Did you tap the glass? I did. Maybe you want more than that. Maybe you'd like them to go ahead and record the odometer and or the engine hours by virtue of this required field in red and give them a note that says, hey, help me out. Every time it crosses over 3,000, set me an alert and tell me that the mileage has gone over that certain amount so I can get it in for a PM, or maybe you pivot off of engine hours. But again, very simply, all you're asking them to do is go through and do their checks. And what I've attached up here, and I'm going to go ahead, and if we have a few minutes, Liz, I want to share this. This is actually brilliantly done. Now, bear with me that it's going to go through commercials because you can't go to anything without a commercial.
With a tight deadline.
So bear with me.
Grandmother's tone suggestion.
Thank you so much.
So in the cab, we're gonna look at all gauges in the normal.
This is checks actually being done by Clearwater using our system and his phone.
Check. The mirrors are okay. We're gonna physically check and look at our mirrors. All the vehicle starts,
He's clicking it and checking it.
check. Next, we're gonna go to the lighting, low and high beams. We're gonna set it, we're gonna go and we're gonna check. Are our flashes working? Flashes are working. Emergency lights.
Works the same for walking around to the compartments as well. I share that because people say, well, does it really work that way? Well, Clearwater produced that for their folks so that they could see it. And it worked very, very well for them. So anyway, as I'm going through and doing the checks, what I want to be able to do is go through and just log those items that are of issue. So if I'm going through and everything's fine, great. Okay, as I'm going through and doing that, that's fine. But as I'm coming through here, and what if something is not fine? I can stop and go, well, no, wait a minute. I need to go ahead and log that. I've got a loose running board. Might be helpful if I tell them what side. Okay, so I can stop right here and I can go ahead and log that. Now, what it's going to do is bring me to this that says, all right, I've logged these items, but this I want to report. This is the key to the system, and that is it brings up the alert menu and report window right here. The system is going to try to be smart, and it's going to say, okay, do I want to report this by this category? And you're going to tell us which categories you want and who should that go to. So by virtue of that, I can come through here and I can say, okay, this is a vehicle maintenance issue, and you will have told us you want it to go to these folks. The Duke is resurrected. So it goes back to the original person who reported it, goes to logistics, goes to John Wayne. We can also build in optional individuals. Now, at this point, I can also mark this routine or urgent. I can take a picture of that with my phone or iPad and attach that right there to the issue. If I want to add additional people to that, we will build in all potential recipients and put them on there. Now, what I want to show you though, and that is if I change the category, and again, these are my categories, we'll name them how you want, it's going to go to a different group of individuals. Or EMS issues, it might go to that, or hazmat equipment issues. Whatever the case may be, you will tell us the categories for both your vehicle checks and station checks, and who do you want us to report that issue to in real time by text and or email. I leave it here at vehicle maintenance. Again, I may or may not attach a picture. I set that alert. When I do, that alert is going out right now in real time by text and or email to those recipients. Whether they are logged in or not, it's going to hit their device or their laptop or their iPad that they happen to have on their person. They do not have to be logged in to receive that issue. It goes right here front and center, and it brings them right back to where they left off. So I will ask at this point, are there any questions at all as to how we build a checklist and how easy it is for the crews to go through and check what you want them to check?
Nope, thanks, Dave. You may carry on.
Okay, so what do we do with this issue? Well, I reported it. Well, let's do a little bit more than that. So let's go back to the dashboard here. And now what that has done is it has gone here front and center for an officer or an admin or fleet to take action on this. All right, so if I've got an acetylene and I can weld this myself, great, it's a broken bracket. What if I have to call a shop or get this out to a specific vendor to help repair this? As an officer or admin, whoever you have in charge of your fleet maintenance, they can come through and say, all right, I called the shop. I set appointment for whatever date in the future that they're going to come out to repair that. Now, why is this important? Well, I'd like to let Dave know that I've got this on top of it. I'd like to let the other recipients know, but I can also tag that maintenance shop that I just called or emailed and said, hey, I'm sending you that recap by text and or email. When I click save, what that has done is that it's gone back to notify those individuals. It's notified your shop by text and or email with that which you just discussed and put it right here front and center. It really is just that simple. To report an issue, take action on it. Now, remember I talked about though, what happens though, and if you want to track the repair, the completion, and the resolution of that issue. For example, this one comes back and the shop says, I found the issue, turned out to be a bad gasket. I've repaired it. Your rig's ready or I'm dropping it by. By the way, here's the cost. We didn't do it for free. But if you're doing your work internally, you can still track this as well. So it's been repaired. Turned out to be a pan gasket. Okay, whatever that might be. So help if I could spell. All right, now this is your record. Put whatever you'd like. If you want to put the shop name, fine, so be it. Again, this is entirely up to you. If they send you an electronic copy of what it cost, or they put it on your desk, you can take a picture of it and attach that electronically. And then just as important is the ability to go ahead and record the cost if you want to and close that out. So what I'm telling the system to do is attach this additional closure information and documentation for its repair. Go ahead and let the other folks know if you want, hey, I'm closing this out. When I click save, what you will notice is it is now dropped off of my active alerts. Again, if I go up here, you saw why this archive is here. I can find those records for that unit and show that, much like I showed you before. So if I roll down there, I would see that that's been closed out. So the idea behind this, again, set up the scheduled events whenever you want those checks done. Just as important is the post call. But again, I've tracked it to full circle. Well, what do you mean by post call? Well, okay, guys, that was a particularly challenging call. We were out there with a multiple response. Go ahead and take a quick walk around the rig and make sure everything made it back in. Mine is built very extensively. You don't have to have us build it this extensively. But if you would like us to build a post call, you tell us, what do you want checked? Do you want them to record a date of incident or incident number or type? You can. But very simply, you can allow your crew to very quickly go through. And by that, I mean they can hit the check all or the speed key. If everything's fine, great. If everything's fine, great. Now everything made it back in. Now they're getting confident, almost cocky. And they go, everything's fine here, LT. Don't worry about that. Is that right? Oh, yeah, everything. Well, except the box light. Wait a minute. What do you mean? Well, I thought you put that back. Well, I can't find it. Okay, and now I'm missing it. Or the tick's not working anymore. I can report that. Or I get down here into the pump panel, because nothing disappears out of there. But hypothetically, if it did, and I happen to have misplaced a reducer, I can record that as well. Again, this is nothing more than your inventory of what's on the rig and giving your crew the chance to quickly go through and either say everything's good or something is damaged or missing after a call. Again, you tell us what of these as needed checks you want us to build for you. It's all part of our standard build process. But again, there is other ones that we can build in. Maybe you want a fuel log. Maybe you want anything else in there. We can build those in. So that's a whole lot on how we build the scheduled checks, build as needed, record the issues, take action on them, find the records of that as well. Okay, so let's go to another. Do we have a question?
Yes, we do, Dave. If you're using the journal as a station pass on log, can you look both back and forward on the dates? And if so, how far can you go forward and backward?
So that's the journal archive that they're asking about, and that is the ability. And I know this is coming. I don't know if this got pushed on the enhancement, but it did. Okay, so I do have the ability. They had just pushed some things through. You would have the ability to search forward for those postings, and you could be very specific here, or you can search in the past as well and see what has been posted by categories, posted to any or all stations, whatever that might be. I could say all, or I could be station department, but I could post that up and look at any of those things that I wanted to see. What was it? Was it a pass on, I believe, or a pass down somebody had asked about?
Yes.
Let me see if I have anything. Of course, I don't have anything in there. So I would have to go back further. But I do have that ability to mine those out and post up into all and look for any categories. And I'll just show you what that might look like. And then you have the ability to filter those out as well. And much like any of our reports, and that is the ability to see what was posted out, going to be posted, and export that out. Great question. Absolutely. And people get very creative what they use the journal for. And yes, you do want to limit who can get in there. You may have some resident comedians posting something inappropriately. Liz, your husband's station. I'm teasing, of course. But the idea behind this, though, is for you to be able to have control over who shares what. What other questions do we have?
That's the only question we have for the webinar, but I'm going to go log into my husband's station now and check some stuff out.
See what's in there. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay, so here's another really important report. Okay, they did the scheduled inspections, they reported it, but I need to be able to pull that record at any given time, whether I have DOT compliance issues, I have municipality issues, I have internal audits, whatever I want to do, or I just want to see what was checked on what rig when, front to back. I go to my logs, I go down here, I pull this log, and I say, okay, which vehicle specifically do I want to see? I'm in station 2, but I could go to any stations and find this. I want to see what's been checked. I can go to the various checklists. All. I can go to any date range. By the way, if you got somebody sofa surfing or pencil whipping, they'll get away with that one time. So Scott says, I've done all my checks the last 30 days, stand down. Really? Let's find out. Well, that's interesting, Scott. You said you did all of your checks, but I don't have a single one tied to your name. My boss used to call that a help me understand moment. So I come back up here and I can say, no, I'm not using this to micromanage. I just want to see what's been inspected on this rig front to back, whatever that may look like. And as I scroll down through here, I can see exactly who did it. Again, you're only seeing my name, but you would see the different crew member's name. You'll see a green or an amber. Green is good. Amber's still good. It just got checked after the scheduled date. But what did they check? Well, it's all listed right through here. If I want to find a specific issue or a specific item on that rig, vehicle maintenance and or tools or equipment, I could find it in here if it was recorded and pulled at any date range, whatever that may be. Somebody says, well, pull the DOT inspection report. Why? Well, you went through an intersection. Somebody claimed your lights failed. I don't think so. And even if it was not working at this time, I have record of when it was repaired. So I can pull trends as well. And just like any report, I can export that. There are multiple reasons for having this in here. You will decide what is most critical for you. But we do want to give you the ability to check any of your vehicles or station checks through any date range and be able to pull that report. By that as well, I can come down over here to suppose you want to pull an out of service report. Why? Because the vehicle's been down 60 some odd days out of 365 and the city says, give me a business case. Well, I can. I can tell you if I pull engine 1 and I go back to any date range, I can pick any date range and say, it's been down a certain number of times. Obviously, it's going to be down more than 3 minutes or 8 minutes. This is a demo, but you have the ability to pull those records and export that as well. So now you're starting to make your business case. It's been down a bunch. Remember, you also have the ability to pull your archive of vehicle maintenance issues and costs over here, or I can come down over here and I can also go to those alerts and view any of those open alerts or archive as well, just like you saw me do before. Now I've built my business case secondly, right? Now I'm showing them the actual issues and their costs involved. Well, suppose somebody comes along and says, yeah, great, yeah, I get it. Just tell me, what are you spending in maintenance to date? Well, okay, I might want to know that, but I want to know that right now. I don't want to surf through everything. I've got 121,000 in maintenance. There's how many times it's gone in and out. And this is my snapshot in time of what it is costing me to maintain that rig to date. It's an 18C grade. That may or may not cause me heart trouble, but it would trouble me a little bit. So I can see that. So what you're going to see as we go through here, multiple ways to get to different information. Now let's talk about the other issue, and that is, that's great, Dave. You build it, it's wonderful. We get it up and running, and now I decide I want to move something around on the checklist. I don't want to burn a bunch of trees or go through a bunch of Excel. How can I do that? Well, you can manage the vehicle move, edit, or edit the checklist. Let's go in there. This is the master checklist. This is what we build individually for each of your rigs. And you will tell us, what do I want to have checked when? This is what we will build for you. Now you say, that's great, Dave, but what if I want to add a check on there that you don't have? Okay, very, very difficult. Actually, not at all. You pick up the phone, we'll walk you through it the first couple of times. After that, you can do it yourself. Again, you control though who gets in. I can come in here and very simply add a new check, right? Whatever that would be. Obviously, you'll have more detail than that, and click save. And now I've added a new assignment or check to the pump area. Or I can say, no, I don't really want that. I was just having some fun. Okay, or I want to change the description on something. You can or we can. Again, initially, please call us, reach out to us, allow us to do this and walk you through it the first few times. That's the service we provide. But you could go up here and change this, any description, any scheduled date, any of these informations, intervals as well can be adjusted, and add that. Say, okay, that's great, but sometimes we move tools around, or it's no longer in one compartment. I've now moved it physically to another compartment or to another rig entirely. What would that look like? Well, suppose the toolbox has been moved, both physically, and now you want to move it electronically. All right. Maybe it's not even on this rig anymore. I can go to and move it to another rig. It's still on the rig. I still want it checked monthly, but you know what? It's no longer an EC1. It's now an EC3. I can move that. And just like that, electronically, you have moved it to show up as part of the compartment checks for number 3. and it's right there. I can grab an entire complement of tools in a compartment and I can move those to a whole nother rig if it is no longer being carried in that rig. I will stop right there and make sure that everybody understands why we build this checklist the way we do to make it very easy to update as your needs and checks change. Anything at all on that, Liz?
I don't have any questions on that. I think you did a great job showing that
Very good.
very important piece.
Okay, so far so good, right? So suppose we take a rig down. Geez, that never happens. And I can do it from the dashboard here or manage it, move it, take it out of action, put it in reserve. What does that look like? I have two places to do that. If I have a single station, I can do it from here. I can manage that vehicle and or move it. I can take it out of service. I can put it in reserve. And by the way, you can tell us when you put it in reserve status, what gets toggled on or off. I can deactivate. I can move. Where did you move it to? I can move that to a whole nother station and the check schedule will follow. Or I can add a note. Whatever I want to do, that can be done here. What if I have multiple stations? I don't want to follow the magnet board behind my desk. I'd like to go here. And we have very large agencies managing hundreds of apparatus across various stations. This way, this is the fleet status report. It tells me in a quick instant, where are my rigs located right now, under what station and or maintenance shop. I could see that as well if I had any in there. But I want to be able to see any notes on there. I want to see quickly how many open inspections are there, how many open issues. Is it out of service or in service? Is it inactive? Can I take and move something around very simply and grab that and move it to another area? Absolutely. I could come here, I can manage that or move that vehicle. And just as simply, I can move it over there or deactivate it. There are multiple ways for you to manage your fleet and have the schedule follow it or have the schedule deactivated, whatever the case may be. You can do it from the single dashboard at each station, or you can do it from up here. One other quick thing on this as well. If you take a rig down temporarily, many times agencies say, well, look, I need to go ahead and grab some tools temporarily from run or equipment from one rig and put it to another one while engine 2 is down. What would that look like? And I don't want a sticky note put on my desk of what that crew member moved. They can come over here and they can do a transfer here, or they can come right over here in actions. They would have access to this and they can transfer some on it. Well, what do you mean? Well, okay, we're going to take engine 1 down. All right, that's fine. And we're going to go ahead and grab some items out of engine 1 and move it over to engine 2 temporarily. Okay, that's fine. But what did they move? Well, it's going to pull the active inventory from engine 1 and allow them to go through here and very quickly just grab both electronically and physically, what did they move over? Anything that they move over, they can log. When they do that, they're going to say, I grabbed these things temporarily and moved them over. Great, wonderful. How do I know what they moved? I can pull that at any given time and see what was moved by who, from where to what. Okay, well, that's part of the challenge. The other part of the challenge is getting it moved back. What if I was not the crew member who did that? And a week later, rig 1 comes back up, and they say, move those items back. It's too hard to do. No, come to return transfer. Come back here. And it's going to remind them these are what were moved. Okay, so it tells them, grab these, grab your phone and go. Now I got everything, didn't I? No, I didn't. It's much like my 17-year-old. Did you clean your room? You know he didn't, but his head goes up and down. So it says, are you sure you got them all? Yeah, okay, I got them all. And it's going to say, are you sure? Because this one's still outstanding. Oh, let me go ahead and grab that one as well. And log that as I move it. Now it's going to say, very good. All items have been returned. Do you want to close this transfer? So there's several different things that we build in here to enable you and your crew to manage your scheduled inspections on the rig or as needed. Manipulate the checklist as you need to. Again, reach out to us, view the open issues, track them, track your logs, and so on and so forth. I'm going to stop here for any other questions on the vehicles before I jump to station, because I know we're approaching the end of the hour.
Dave, can you show an example of a report on a vehicle, like some of the information that can be pulled. We all know data in is data out, but I know PSTrax wraps some really great reports into.
Well, again, there's multiple things on there. Again, there is the logs of what was actually inspected on what rig went, and a lot of our agencies have to pull a compliance report or DOT report. Again, I can go to any rig. I just go to Engine 2, any of the checklists. I can pull that, including as needed, and they can pull that report by any date range. So that's a record of everything checked on that vehicle, front to back, and I can export that report out. Also in those reports, as I come down here, we can build some custom reports. There's that out of service report we talked about. The other reports that you'll see would also be, if I come down here to logs and reports, current task due summary incomplete. We have people who just love pie charts. Okay, there's your pie charts. Knock yourself out. We can pull pie charts for any of those rigs as well. A whole lot of reports. We do have the ability, it's not infinite, to build some custom reports. We are working on mileage reports as well right now. I can pull those out as well. It's the same as my station checks as well. I could come through here and pull those same reports as well. Again, I have records of all of the issues that have been reported and or closed on any vehicle. I can search for them in multiple places. I can screencast this thing up to a monitor at my station. There's fleet status report mobile, fleet status report table, multiple things on here. I can pull down a checklist as well. So does that, I mean, there's so many, I don't want to get mired down too far in the minutia, but we can get real deep if we need to.
That covers it for me, Dave. I really
Okay.
appreciate doing that. And again, we can do those custom reports if there's something special you
Oh,
need.
absolutely, absolutely, because there's no cookie cutter departments out there. Now, by the way, real quick, can we share best practices from other departments? Can we show you our sample checklist? Can we help you build something from scratch? Absolutely. That's what our build team does. You say, great, David, we're supposed to cover stations. What does that look like? Just knock the wheels and tires off of it and go ahead and pull up those station checks. What does that look like? You tell us. What do you want done daily? What do you want done days of the week? Let's put the program in bathroom detail. It's always fun. But I can also go ahead and build in some safety checks. Let's keep the city and county happy as well. What do those look like? We can build those in. Apparatus room, training tower, compressor room, furnace area. It is not limited to the bays are clean and the kitchen's clean. You will tell us what you want checked and when. Exterior, interior, bathroom, interior, whatever that may look like. We used to build supply checks here. We can still do that and allow them to go ahead and record with this pencil what's in there and what's short. So there are various different things that we can build in to the station check, inside and out, up and down. They would report those issues the same way that we've talked about the other ones. For example, I get in here and I'm going through my safety check and I'm looking at this and I've got a fire inspection that's not, or fire extinguisher not working, okay? So I can go ahead and, put which one is not working, one by bay 3, right? Whatever the case may be, bay 3 extinguisher. Okay, so I can report that just like I would a vehicle check. And that can go to the appropriate personnel as well under station maintenance. Again, category, that's going to be, I don't know, maintenance or station 1, whatever that might be, buildings and ground, whatever you want that to be. And it'll go to those individuals and I can report that. Works the same way as the vehicle checks. Then I can track that resolution of that issue as well, either here or in my alert archive or right up front here. And I can go and order a new extinguisher or get this one refilled or charged, whatever I need to do. Probably, a whole lot more here than some of you may know. If some of you are involved in your current build with PSTrax, you know that we can get very deep into that, or we can keep it very high level. The last thing I'm going to leave you with, and that is, if you do decide to look at PSTrax and move away from paper checks or something that's kind of clunky, don't reinvent the wheel. Allow us to replicate what the crew is doing right now and automate it. We can always go in deeper and build in more scheduled events, more as needed events. But let's start out simply and make it very user friendly. And then as they become more comfortable with it, we can build in deeper and deeper dives for you. And that's really about it, guys, for the vehicles and station. Any questions at all is on anything we have not covered. And I know there's some folks out there recognize names that might be in the middle of a build or already have us doing this for them.
Yeah, I don't have any current questions, Dave, and we are about 8 minutes to the end of the hour. So if you do have any questions or would like to see something, please put it in the chat or in the Q&A, and we can definitely look at that. We have plenty of time. We can also schedule time after this as well. If you have a very specific department question, we're happy to get you in touch with your customer service representative or your build specialist and make sure that you're getting taken care of if you're in the middle of that. Or if you're just looking at PSTrax as an option, we can certainly get you a personalized demo with our team to really get into the weeds of your specific system.
Absolutely. And while we're waiting questions, I'm taking them behind the scenes where people ask us about, well, what if I change my call name? I don't change the ID, but what if I move it to another station and now that's engine 3, being deployed out of station 3? I can temporarily change that as well so it shows up appropriately, but I still want to leave the records track that unit and chassis. We can do that as well. We also have an enhancement coming up that is going to be in that drop-down menu of manage the vehicle to go ahead and rename it at that time as well by call name. So there's some goodies coming as well.
Yeah, and it's good to note too that you can make these changes yourself in the admin and you receive full admin training to do that. But if you don't want to, then we can help you with that as well. I know oftentimes, like maybe if you get a new engine, you might have an engine 11 and an engine 12 now, and you need to make the old one a different name. And
oh yeah. And by the way, if they retire an apparatus and bring in a new one, there's no additional cost. They've not increased their fleet. We will help them retire the old one, maintain those records. We will build out that new replacement rig for them and put it into their check system. No additional cost for that service. If they want to add vehicles down the road, sure, there's adjustments at that time. Stations as well. We can make adjustments to these at any time. It is never a one and done with PSTrax because you don't have a one and done station.
yeah.
Or
Do we have any customers? So this is just my mind wandering, but if it comes to mind because my husband's department is selling one of their engines, they got a new one, they don't need the old one. But have we had any use cases where people have had to pull like a maintenance report on an engine because they're either donating or selling it to another department and they can hand all those records right on over and say, here, this is
well, I'm not familiar with those, but I do have people talk to me about some of the scenarios where they have had to pull those reports because of a failure, or God forbid, because of a suit or an alleged suit or a complaint against a department or rig or what somebody deemed to be a failure of that apparatus. And they go back through and we help them mine out all of that information and history in 2 clicks and produce that. But you have a really good point, and that is if somebody wants to see that history, those can be pulled at any given time. If you're not sure how to do that, what I just did today, you pick up the phone and let us help you with that.
yes, with our free unlimited customer service.
Absolutely.
Important to note, when you call us, you get somebody on the phone almost right away, and we're not going to make you fill out a ticket or wait in a line or pay or use credits or however anybody else does it out there.
No, and there's none of this, well, you reached out 20 times. We'd like to hear from you. Matter of fact, we can't leave you alone. We're like the stepbrother that won't leave. Okay, we will continue to reach out to you from time to time with your customer service specialist to make sure that everything's warm and fuzzy, and make sure that from time to time, are you using all the enhancements in your particular module? If not, we'll show you those. Okay, we want to make sure you're getting full value out of this. I see Jeff on there. I see Joel. I believe I've talked to both of you individuals in the past. So if you've already, Jeff, if you've been through the build process, it can be as high level or as simple as you want to make it. So again, reach out, folks. There is no question. If you want to talk afterwards, that's fine. Get your information to Liz. We can certainly visit. But the most important thing is allow us to replicate what you're doing, fill in the gaps, make it simple for you to use, simple to get the reports and the action taken. That's really all we're trying to do here.
Absolutely. Dave, I don't have any other questions, so I'm gonna take host back and we'll just wrap up here.
There you go. You should have it.
So I'm gonna stop our recording.